Hi everyone, and a belated welcome into 2026, and with that also a new year of thrilling, insightful, and fun podcast episodes, a great variety of guests, and hopefully many new listeners and Transatlantic Voices fans. We're happy to be back with you and our first episode of this year, and another great guest. Next to us on the mic sits Charlyn. And before I take it all away, why don't you introduce yourself?
Thank you for having me today. My name is Charlyn, and I am currently a master's student in American Studies at University of Leipzig. And I have also done my BA in American Studies at the University of Leipzig. And I'm in my third semester in my master's, although I have just finished my last class for this semester. So no more classes for me then, only my master's thesis left. Personally, I like about my hobbies. I like reading and writing and plenty of traveling. I try to travel whenever I can. And during my bachelor's, I also spent a year abroad in the US.
Sounds absolutely lovely. We have invited you today here to learn more about your path through American Studies and with American Studies, and to hopefully gain some insights on what the master's program revolves around. Because I would argue that the two of us have already given some insights into the bachelor's perspective. We want to know from you what this program entails. And to the listeners, please let us know if this episode has helped you in any way to get a little more input into the nuances of American Studies here.
Now, let's actually get started. Since we are still warming up, let's slowly break the ice with our icebreaker question. Charlyn, on a surface level, how would you explain American Studies to someone outside academia?
I get this question quite a lot, actually, and I'm sure most of the American Studies students can relate to that, actually. In the short version, I would say, if I would explain it to someone like my parents, for example, that I basically study English with a focus on North America. Sometimes it's easier for people to think about me studying something like British Studies with a focus on America, because for some reason people understand more what British Studies is than American Studies. If I would have to explain it in a bit longer version, I would say it's an interdisciplinary field that analyzes aspects such as history, politics, literature, society, and culture.
Yeah, I definitely get that. Every time I'm being asked about what it is I do, I always say it's kind of like German studies or Germanistics, but with a focus on America and the US, and in English, of course. So I can definitely relate to that. Now, as per usual, we will dive into your personal three time zones, starting with the past. And I want to know from you, when was the moment that you realized this is exactly what I want to do? This is what I want my path to look like after school. Maybe there was a certain cultural moment or a book, a TV show, a movie, whatever.
So it was a bit of a longer journey to get there, to know what I want to study. After finishing high school, I knew I wanted to travel for a bit, and I decided to go to Canada. So I spent a work and travel year in Canada. I extended my stay for a bit because of COVID and I couldn't return to Germany. And at that point in time, I knew that I wanted to study something with the English language. So of course, there are multiple varieties that you can study when you want to study American, like the English language, or in my case, American Studies. And before I finally decided to study American Studies here, I looked into Canadian Studies programs.
There are Canadian study programs?
At that point in time, one in Germany, which is also why I decided to do North American Studies. And a little anecdote on the side, actually I applied for British and American Studies just because I wanted to make sure that I get into at least one program, and I thought the final decision would be made by the university in which program I would be accepted. I was accepted to both, which turned out to be a bit of a problem, and when I had made the decision, I was currently watching Outlander, and it was their journey to America, so I was like, well, I guess it's my journey to America then.
Did Leipzig also play a role in that decision?
I applied all over Germany, I think, so in many different cities, but I only applied in Leipzig for 2 different programs because this was my preferred city.
Okay. So now as a master's student, how do you look back at your bachelor studies? What did you enjoy most about your BA in American Studies? Did you maybe find a particular niche that you're interested in and maybe also made you eventually choose the master track?
I did very much like the literature and culture part of American Studies. I knew this beforehand already that I would prefer that since I read a lot and I also like writing a lot, so I thought that literature would be the most interesting part of the studies for me, and it turned out to be right. While studying in my BA, I also figured out that I actually very much enjoy Gothic literature, which I didn't know before. We started with Edgar Allan Poe in, I think, the Literature and Culture 1 lecture, and I really enjoyed that. And during my time in America, I also took an American Gothic class, so I got to delve deeper into the American Gothic literature sphere. And I even wrote my bachelor thesis on American Gothic. So yes, that is my niche, I would say.
I guess many young people that might not have encountered this program before, or maybe even people already within the track, occasionally come across fears whether this is the right path to take and if it's a safe route. Did you ever come across such doubts throughout your studies?
So I actually had doubts at some points. I did talk to one of my classmates about this as well. And I think it's very natural to have doubts at some point in your studies. It's normal that sometimes you just don't feel like this is something that interests you, or you feel like an imposter. And I think that's a very common thing that happens in academia. But I think the solution for that is to talk to other students about this as well, because you will figure out that you're not alone in this. Or you can even talk to the professors, especially here at the Institute. Everyone is really nice, and if you ever have doubts, you can always talk to them and they will either help you figure out what is wrong and help you find a solution, or they would just be there and support you.
Yeah, I mean, speaking from my own experience, I certainly have doubted myself several times over the last months and years even at this point. I mean, this week we have had an exam, and I left this exam being so disappointed of myself. But then I'm always telling myself I don't want to be the best. I'm not going to be the best. And while for some this might be a kind of unhealthy mindset, it definitely fits the goals that I have, and I can certainly always relieve myself with that. That's something that I definitely understand.
Thank you very much for being so open and sharing your feelings. Now that we have reached the next time zone, the present, let's talk about your current academic life as a master's student at the University of Leipzig. Give us an exclusive insight. What does studying the American Studies Master program exactly look like? But what can one expect?
I was thinking about that question quite a lot, because I think as a master's student, there's not really one track. There's not just one thing that you do that is representative for all master students. So I thought I would talk a little bit about the first semester, because that's the one that where all the students have to take the same module. So it's a bit more understandable what master's program looks like. So in the first semester, for example, you have as peers, which is the American Studies graduate journal that the students work on, and a common day would look like that. You go to university early in the morning for that, and then in our cohort people would bring food, so everyone would have a nice time. You would have a check-in round to see how everyone is doing, and then you would get started and get right into either editing or reading papers that were submitted. And after that, usually the cohort would just do something together. During our first semester, we would always go to a coffee shop afterwards and get muffins or coffee, just to wind down basically and talk about something that we couldn't talk about in class, so everyone would feel comfortable and included, and also could process things together, because you're in this together and you will spend a lot of time with your cohort in the first semester.
Sounds very engaging, more engaging than I would have expected. But given that we are currently at the end of the winter term, and that every single one of us is probably fed up with with all of the paper assignments that we have, are there any specific topics or issues right now that interest or bother you in any way relating to US or anything outside of university?
I must admit, at the end of the semester, I usually try to get away from stuff that we do in class and university-related stuff generally, just because we have to write papers very soon anyway. And recently for a class, we had to watch an episode of the season 1 of The Last of Us. So I have watched that for class, and I have really gotten into it. And now I have started rewatching all the apocalyptic and dystopian series that I could think of, like The Walking Dead, Maze Runners, everything that there is really. And that is something that I'm really interested in right now, just my personal interest, really.
But it's so nice that university and this program gives you an opportunity to get inspired for your private and personal life. And you might watch a lot of Last of Us after leaving the program. So this is for the worried moms and dads out there, having gathered plenty of experience in the last years. What skills from American Studies do you find useful inside and outside academia, and what are some things that you know will get you anywhere?
I think from the master's program specifically, I think it is that you can really just talk about things and discuss things. In our program, we don't have lectures anymore. We only have seminars, and we sit down together and we have prepared the same text, the same movies and series, whatever we talk about, and there's an open space for every opinion, and we would talk about it really. And I also really enjoy that it's a cultural studies perspective, so we don't just go and look at a certain thing, like a historical moment in time, and just talk about the chronology and what happened afterwards, but we will talk about other effects that this might have had on the culture in America. And I think that is something that is very important in academia and that I will take away with me. But outside of academia, I also think sometimes when I watch movies, for example, now, and then I just come up with a theory that would fit that particular movie and think about how I could engage with that material in a more important way for me personally, so that I have a certain interest in it and see how it fits current American society, culture. And I think that is a skill that is, especially nowadays, very important when you look into politics in America right now, reading the news, and then you will always have to engage with it in a certain way. And this really helped me do that.
Definitely. Well, that comes off as very dismissive, but I would like to take a look into the glass orb with you and see what the future holds. Mm-hmm. Now, this is probably a question that annoys every single one of us, but what does your future look like? Do you have any plans, or are there any goals that you would like to pursue after university, or even during university, maybe throughout your last semesters?
So I really want to do my PhD, and I knew that since the second year of my bachelor's, and that is what I'm pursuing right now. I'm looking into open positions at other universities. I'm looking into actually doing my PhD perhaps in a different country. I'm not entirely sure where I'm going to do it. I just know that I do want to do it. So yeah, that's a bit up in the air, but I know my journey. And other things that I might want to do while still studying. I'm actually considering doing another internship at some point, maybe during the summertime, before I would start my PhD. Thinking about doing it in a different country as well. But again, this is just up in the air as of now. Still thinking about the last semester.
Well, good luck for all of your plans. And I think that's really beautiful about this program, that it enables us to go abroad and to experience other cultures while still remaining in our academic track. I think that's such a privilege, and yeah, you should make use of that. What would you suggest any future graduate to do once they are being confronted with their future outside of uni?
I would first say, don't stress. It's really important to not stress about this, because lots of students get stressed in the last semester because they don't know what their future looks like. And I think that is the wrong way to approach it, because there's lots of time to think about things, and you can always approach other people and talk to them about what opportunities there are and what you're interested in. And while you're studying, you will figure out what kind of niches you enjoy and what you want to do in the future, even if you don't know a particular job yet. And other steps I would suggest is, again, talk to your professors, figure out if there's a network where you can connect to people, and perhaps try to find some job while you're still studying where you can spend a few hours a week doing what you like already, like teaching English if that's something that you enjoy. And I think that's really important. Don't stress. That's important.
Yeah, I definitely share the same mentality. And I've mentioned in the first episode that I'm somebody who always likes to stay in the moment and to not really look too far ahead. Of course, it is very hard to suppress this feeling that this urgent feeling that you have to know what's lying ahead of you. It's really, really hard to tell yourself that it pretty much doesn't matter and that you can always take your time with everything, especially if people from outside are telling you that you have to hurry with making money and actually start living, essentially. It can be hard to do that, but I'm glad that we're sitting here and telling other people that it's important to take your time with everything you do. All right, thank you so much for your insights and for teaching not only us but our listeners as well about the master's program of American Studies. Now, we have almost reached the end of the episode, unfortunately. It's really fun to talk to you. And as always, we have prepared together with the ASLAA community a question that we would like to ask you and us as well. Today we want to know, is there a piece of American culture that you secretly love but feel like you shouldn't? Now, of course, as good East German citizens, we should, of course, feel ashamed of liking anything American to begin with. But please go ahead.
I understand. Actually, that was the most difficult question for me, not gonna lie. I was thinking about all the aspects of American culture that I enjoy currently, and I cannot think of something that I feel like I shouldn't, simply because I share all my interests with my cohort and they've never let me feel like this is something that I shouldn't enjoy. But something that we learned in class recently, this doesn't really fit into the shouldn't category, but I think it could be interesting to some people. We learned about government cheese. So if you want to look up government cheese, that is a very niche thing. I don't think I would say I'm enjoying it very much, but it's very fun to look into.
Okay. I might just Google it.
Do that.
Well, last but not least, let's finish the episode with some recommendations. We are excited to hear what city, place, or region you would like to add to our imaginary road trip through the US to give some of our listeners an idea where they might want to travel next.
I can definitely recommend Cape Cod in Massachusetts. It's a very nice road to go there. Like, you have nice scenery, a lovely landscape. The people are very nice there. And at the end of Cape Cod, you have Provincetown, which is a very nice town. And I can really recommend it.
Well, that's a wrap then. Thank you so much for coming to our episode and being a guest here. We wish you all the best for your future, and we are really looking forward to seeing what the rest of your future holds for you. Now, of course, dear listeners, please do not forget to subscribe, comment, and share this episode. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments on either Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube. We are definitely doing our best to respond to them, because we have received the criticism in the past that we should engage more with our comments. We're definitely applying this moving forward. And thank you once again for listening in. And we'll see you next time in March.
Bye!